I'm Brian Foster, and this is the Grindhouse Institute. On each episode of this podcast, Jeremy Floyd and I program a triple feature movie night. Each of the movies share common themes, and we discuss them here. We're happy you could join us for today's block we call Retconned Sequels. On this show, we've discussed the Herculean task of producing a good sequel. Our team of experts have found that this works best when a sequel gives the audience the familiarity of the first, while changing up the genre in order to make it feel fresh. Today we're taking a look at sequels and franchises that ignore previous entries, that retcon any of the entries between the first film in the series and the many cash grabs of sequels in between. 15 years following the Reagan-McNeil exorcism, Lieutenant Kinderman is brought to the end of his wits while investigating a string of copycat killings that match the MO of a serial killer thought long dead. Kinderman's faith will be tested when he is brought face to face with a legion of terror. This one completely ignores the events of the second movie. George C. Scott, Brad Dourif, and a murderer's row of character actors star in The Exorcist III from 1990. After brutally murdering several people on Halloween night back in 1978, Michael Myers was caught, and for 40 years he's been a psychiatric ward patient. Drawing some inspiration from The Fugitive, he breaks free again to wreak havoc on Haddonfield. But this time, Laurie Strode is armed to the teeth and ready to rumble. The 10th entry in this franchise hits reset on everything and picks the story up right after the first one. Jamie Lee Curtis stars in Halloween from 2018. After saving 3 billion lives by preventing Judgment Day, Sarah Connor thought she could retire on a beach. Fate had other ideas. When a Rev 9 model Terminator is sent back in time to kill the future leader of the human resistance, well, I bet you can guess what happens next. This is the 6th movie in the franchise and rewinds the tape back to T2 and picks up the story from there. Linda Hamilton stars in Terminator Dark Fate from 2019. Thank you for listening to the Grindhouse Institute. Please enjoy.
Yes.
Hello. We're looking for Laurie Strode. We're making a podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Grindhouse Institute. I am Brian Foster, and with me as always is Jeremy Floyd. Hello, and how are you?
Howdy. I didn't have anything prepared for this one.
You retconned your own your own intro.
Well, if you play that backwards, you'll be able to understand what that was. That was my intro.
He was actually speaking in reverse, everyone. We listened back to the tapes, found out he was possessed. Hello, we have a very special guest today, again, speaking about retcon sequels in franchises. We'll explain a little bit more of that now, but Jeremy, would you mind doing the introduction?
Sure. We've got, returning guest here. I think Andy's lapped, as a returning guest, but probably one of our most returning guests. Very big fan of the Exorcist movies. Definitely Halloween. I think you introduced me to Halloween. And, who doesn't love the Terminator? My brother, Michael Floyd.
Back again for the very first time. Again.
Welcome again. It's good to have you back.
Well, thank you.
It's also good to have you back when we're talking a couple horror movies here, because I like talking horror with you, and this is a good lineup.
Seems to be my forte.
Yeah. Well, all three of these franchises started in the horror genre.
There you go.
I don't think they all made it through in that genre, but
no, definitely not.
So the three movies we're talking about today: Exorcist III from 1990, Halloween from 2018, and it is just called Halloween.
Right.
Right.
So the sequel to Halloween is called Halloween.
Oh, so this is the Rob Zombie one, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's the John Carpenter one?
No. This is the David Gordon Green one.
It's the John Carpenter in paycheck only version.
Yeah. Right.
And then the third film in the list is Terminator Dark Fate from 2019. These are all sequels in the franchise that have ignored any previous entry in the franchise, wiping them clean, I would say, from the storyline. That's pretty much where this goes. Although, we've got a question about that. We were talking about this earlier. Michael, let us know what you think about Exorcist III.
Okay, well, yeah, because we were talking about this earlier. Exorcist III is a bit of a tricky one because it is basically a direct continuation of Part 1. And part 2 is basically its own continuation with Reagan's story, and part 3 is a continuation with Kinderman's story. But that being said, it does completely ignore anything that happens in part 2.
Right.
So it is kind of an awkward slide, around part 2.
I think Blatty made that a pretty legitimate slide away from
Oh,
2.
yeah,
He's like,
absolutely.
I'm gonna write this book Legion. I'm gonna make a movie out of that, which is a direct sequel to my work.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. I wish they would have called it Legion and not Exorcist 3.
Yeah, it's a great name, right?
And that's it's a great name, and it would most assuredly bypass Exorcist 2 for anyone watching it.
I believe there's a longer cut of it called Legion, though. Or
There
something.
is, and I saw it last year or 2 years ago. Sorry, COVID is a non-year.
Right.
And then,
It's crazy.
but it's one of the rare times I was extremely happy because it was like Ark of the Covenant for film fans, that lost cut of Exorcist 3. And I talked to Scott Wilson about it a little bit back in the day, and I mean, from everything he heard, it was just a disaster, and he was like, "Yeah, don't get your hopes up," and he was 100% right.
Oh no.
No, I shouldn't say that, but I mean, it's everything that they changed in Blatty's version of Exorcist 3, they did it for the right reasons. Like everything was done the right way. The theatrical version is the superior cut, unfortunately. I mean,
Yeah.
So wait, well, let me ask. What do you think of
I
this?
shouldn't shit on it so harshly.
Yeah, what do you think
but
of
it's
this movie? Because I wouldn't shit on it either. I think it's
No, I'm just
pretty
shitting
well
on,
put together
on
film.
the director's cut.
I see.
Just as the not better version.
I enjoy this film a lot, and I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on it. Especially,
I mean,
yeah. But please, Michael, because you seem to have a definite opinion on
on
Exorcist 3.
I love Exorcist 3. It was a total fluke because I remember Jeremy and we watched Exorcist for the first time in the house we grew up in, which had an attic, so it was like a perfect place to watch it. It was one of the creepiest experiences ever. So I mean, I was like very hyped on Exorcist and George
Great
C.
movie.
Scott. I had recently discovered Patton and Dr. Strangelove, and just completely fell in love with Scott as an actor. And I was like, when I found out he was in an Exorcist movie, I was like, holy shit, I need to see this. And I think I rented it before we saw Exorcist 2.
Okay.
And I didn't see Exorcist 2 until many years later. Although, weirdly enough, I will give Exorcist 2 credit for having one of the best teaser trailers of all time.
Yes. Yes.
It's the entire movie in about a minute and a half.
And that's all you need.
It's literally all you need. It's the best of everything in that movie. It's great.
Yeah.
Sorry, John Borman, another one.
2-minute fever dream
yeah.
they give you for the trailer or whatever.
Yeah. And again, and it's like that's literally everything that happens in the movie, and you don't need anything else because nothing else is really that important in the movie.
Else happens.
It's a movie that I think was very rushed and did everything that a studio would do wrong to try to ape it.
Now, do you guys know anything about how Exorcist 2 got made? What was it? Just like they cut out Blatty and I mean, because was there a second Exorcist book by the time the movie came out?
Yeah, I don't think he'd finished Legion yet.
Legion was the second book, and that I think he finished writing that right before he wrote to screen. So it was like the book, and then
I mean, so I was telling Jeremy the kind of spiritual sequel to The Exorcist that Blatty considered to be the true sequel was Twinkle Twinkle Killer Kane, aka The Ninth Configuration. And that his book was Twinkle Twinkle Killer Kane, which featured it's not explicitly said that it's the astronaut that Reagan talks to at the party, but that's like kind of the heavy implication because she says you're going to die up there, and that like freaks him out, and he goes into a horrible soul crushing existential crisis and can't go to the moon.
The warning manifested. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I mean, that movie is a whole other can of worms. We'll have to get into some other day. But I mean, to me, it's one of my favorite movies, and I discovered that even after Exorcist 3. But going back to Exorcist 3, I saw that. I just rented it, and it totally blew my mind. It was like to this day, I don't know why it's not a more lauded movie in the
I think it's
horror
starting to
genre.
get.
I think it is starting to get that.
Yeah, there's notice now happening.
praise,
People are
yeah.
writing about it and like taking notice, and it only took 30 years for this
Right.
thing to actually pop, but it really is. And watching it again, it's a great sequel. It's a great continuation. The
Right.
characterization kind of continues with Kinderman, especially with his friendship with the priests. And
I'd say it's kind of akin to Aliens, you know, or I mean, not even that, because I mean, Aliens is unfortunately a beat for beat remake of Alien, but like just done slightly differently.
Like in a different genre. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. I think Exorcist 3 is a different genre than Exorcist as well. I think
Yeah.
this is more of a detective story, a mystery, like a murder mystery or a procedural.
Right.
Actually, you're right. Like this one's less of a horror movie. I mean, obviously there's sort of horror elements, but it is more of a detective.
It's a supernatural
sort of
detective story, I would say.
almost film noir type of thing. Yeah.
I think it's very noir, especially the scenes talking to Brad Dourif. I think that feels very, the
Yeah.
interrogation scenes,
Yeah.
very stark.
Man, how great is the cast in this movie?
I know, it's
Like
so
everywhere
great.
you look.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, one of the things that really bothered me in the Blatty cut of Legion was that it was all Brad Dourif. And it was Brad Dourif as the priest, as Damien.
With no Jason Miller.
Well, because Jason Miller was an intense, like severe alcoholic and had what they called wet brain and like had difficulty remembering his lines. Although, I mean, he looks like he's an alcoholic when you see him in the movie, but it fits perfectly for his character who's been dead for 20 years or whatever. But I mean, I think he's one of the best parts of the movie.
Yes,
and he's one of my favorite actors that like has been in. I mean, he wasn't in very many movies, unfortunately. I don't think he was very terribly interested in Hollywood. And just, I mean, well, he liked going to bars and he liked doing plays, and that was kind of his thing.
the New York scene.
Yeah, but I thought him and Scott together were just absolutely magnetic, and the chemistry is exploding off the screen. I mean, and not to discredit anything Brad Dourif did. I mean, because it's like probably his best part as well, his best role. I mean, I just think the trifecta of them together was far more stronger than just Brad. And again, I think he wanted Jason Miller to do that part, but he was just afraid he wouldn't be able to pull it off.
I think the switch between them from cut to cut is so effective, and it keeps you guessing like who's talking to George C. Scott, Kinderman's character.
And it's a perfect way to disorient you as well.
This is a very disorienting film.
I was gonna say, did any of you see The Father with Anthony Hopkins? Just came out?
No.
Because that does something very similar, because it keeps changing the room. Like he'll go from one room to another, and the set will be different. Only there won't really be a cut. And he'll be talking to somebody in one room. He'll walk into the other room, and it'll be a different person. And it just like the whole movie is this weird kind of head game, which is kind of exploring his dementia.
Yeah, I heard it's really interesting on that level. Exactly. But in this case, it's like they're really playing up this idea of the evil being Legion, and kind of being through other things, and having him switch like that, and then having all those different voices come out of him, and like how his voice will like pitch shift like crazy, like he'll get really high and then get really low, and it's just these kind of subtle things that, like, I think one of the more effective versions of that was in like Prince of Darkness, where it's like the person who's like, "Oh, Father, you're opening the church again," and all that stuff.
Right.
I like that they used the reverse stuff like Prince of Darkness did too. You know how the water would reverse and drip up into Prince of Darkness? They did that with the smoke in this one, or the mist on the stairs.
Oh yeah.
And there was a lot of the old woman crawling on the ceiling like a spider.
Oh Jesus, yeah,
freaked me out. Still freaks me out.
I mean, no, and it's like, again, and that's the thing with Blatty is he could do humor as well as kind of subtle eeriness just as perfectly.
This is a very funny movie,
and there's a lot, because there's like
George C. Scott when he's having that really close conversation.
You're really close.
We're standing
to me,
really close,
You're
right?
really close to me, Father.
Talking about the carp.
Yeah. Because if I see that fish swimming up and down in my bathtub, I'm going to kill it.
Sitting very close to me now, Father. That fish has been swimming up and down in my bathtub all day. Up and down. But anyway, yeah, no, it's perfect in its tone as well. Just trying to be similar but different to the original Exorcist. Which does have a surprising amount of humor in it before kind of everything goes to hell.
That's true.
I just love George C. Scott's meltdowns whenever he's interrogating the one nurse that actually knows something. You're like, what do you mean?
Yeah, we're fine. Like it's just like when his blood pressure just shoots through the roof.
When it spikes.
Immediately.
Just kills me. It's just so good.
It is not in the file. It is not.
Sometimes he'll apologize too. He'll be crying and be like, I'm sorry. He just stops in the middle of it.
Shut your mouth. And it's just like the intensity that Scott has is just so powerful, and you're just absolutely blown away by it every time you see it.
No, it's true. And I guess you're right though. I mean, like, thinking on it as a whole, I do kind of think of it as like, oh, it's this kind of like film noir, kind of detective story. But you're right. I mean, like, there are several examples where it's like, it's clear horror, and it's not just the like him sort of raising out of the pit of hell at the end, but also like the the woman crawling on the ceiling, like you're saying, or like the priest who like hits the ceiling and like that
rips his face off.
Oh, right.
Junk off, like, oh.
He leaves his skin up there.
It's like he hit the George Foreman grill up there.
Yeah.
Like,
the George C.
was
Scott
peeling
grill.
Everything.
Oh god. I was gonna say the scene with Nicole Williamson in his bedroom actually reminded me of Prince of Darkness a little bit. It had that kind of similar foreboding moment, which I mean, again, all of his scenes were shot by the studio purely because they needed an exorcism in the movie called Exorcist III. So, and I guess Max von Sydow was not available. So anyway, but or dead. In the series,
wait, he wasn't supposed to be playing the same.
No. I'm just anyway.
Okay.
No, because they roped him into part 2. I don't know how that happened. I'd love to hear that story.
Max von Sydow.
Max von Sydow.
Oh, okay.
He played the younger version of himself.
Yeah. I see.
Which was kind of great. I mean, because he definitely does like a Marlon Brando Godfather kind of thing, where he was playing someone who was much older in the original Exorcist. Even though he himself was still pretty young. I think he was in his 40s.
So George C. Scott was playing the same guy as the Lee J. Cobb.
Lee J. Cobb. Yeah.
Lee J. Cobb in the first one, right?
Right.
Kinderman. Yep.
Okay, yeah. And then was the clown fro priest, was he in the first one
You
as
mean
well?
Ed Flanders?
Ed Flanders' his character was in it. He was the guy that gives Damien the last rites.
The one that William Friedkin apparently slapped in the face to get to cry on camera.
Right.
He plays that character. I thought that was interesting, their relationship, George C. Scott's and Ed Flanders' characters. And I thought that was great that each one of them thought that they were going to see a movie to like cheer the other guy up.
Yeah.
I'm going to cheer up the father.
Well, obviously they were doing that to, help each other, but yeah, exactly.
Exactly, yeah. But I think that there was a lot of really good, moments like that. I thought the writing of this one was great.
Yeah,
the dialogue especially.
Which they do. They allude to that at the end of the director's cut of Exorcist, which again we won't talk about because it's a disgrace. But there's one nice moment in there of Kinderman walking off with his friend, talking about going to go see the movies or something. He's like he get free passes. He's just an old lonely guy, just wants someone to go to the movies with him.
Exactly.
No, yeah. I was going to bring up a point. That there was a subtle little moment that I'm not sure if it was a joke that like slipped through or what. It's subtle and it's funny, but it's also extremely frightening. There's a scene with the elder priest, and he goes out in the hallway and he thinks he hears something, and you look over and you see the statue and it has the head of the Joker on it for no reason, for absolutely no reason.
Was that supposed to be the Joker?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did not notice that.
Because I was like, that's weird. It looks like the comic book Joker. But
yeah. I mean, it's like again, I don't know what that was from or how they slipped it in there or what but it was just this creepy kind of funny weird thing that
there's a lot of like weird stuff in here, like Fabio, Patrick Ewing,
Angel sequence with
Patrick Ewing has no lines, but he speaks volumes with those eyes, man.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
And Samuel L. Jackson as the blind
Samuel L.
radio
Jackson, right?
transition.
And they dubbed over his voice or something. It was like you know how in Arnold's first movie, like they had someone
Hercules
else
in
do
New
that.
York.
Damien, I am Hercules. Yeah.
Hey, what did you guys think of that dream sequence?
I loved it. I mean, it fit in kind of tonally perfect with George C. Scott going, "Oh, I'm so sorry you were murdered." You know, it's just
exactly.
It's just that completely surreal, bizarre situation.
But yeah, I thought that scene was very bizarre. I mean, obviously, it's playing up to Blatty's comic sensibilities and whatever else.
Yeah.
Which is odd, though, because, unlike in the first one where the comedy bits were kind of up front, and then when we got into the horror, it was just, pure horror.
Right,
to
yeah.
the end. Like, in this one, we were already trying to, get into the idea of taking some of this stuff seriously. I think his friend had already died by then, or is
No, that's
just
when he
about to
finds
die.
that out.
Oh, that's when he finds out.
That's
And
the dream, yeah.
Right.
And then, but it was starting to get to that point of the movie where we'd be getting out of the humdrum of life and then into what's going on here. This is crazy. So it, tone wise, felt very odd to have it there. I mean, but in and of itself, the scene was really funny and really great. It reminded me a little of Terry Gilliam.
Yeah,
It had a very Gilliam feel.
Yeah, I mean, it was very dreamy. Definitely Gilliam, but I liked that was an odd choice for tone, the tone of it, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. But then the next scene is so powerful when he finds out that his friend has been killed, and then all the cups of blood are just
those little
neatly presented
urine sample cups or
Boom.
whatever. Yeah.
It's just this master shot of Scott kind of standing there in the middle of the room, and he looks from the body over and just looks at all the cups and goes, "What's this?" You know, it's just it's this incredible bizarre thing, and again, it's poignant because you can see the penguin in the corner that he just brought for him the other day, and just so horribly gut wrenching at the same time.
Well, and then also how he's just barely able to contain himself, and he's barely hanging on.
But what I really liked about that as well is that they set up what he was going to say next, and he looks under the blanket and he sees something that kind of shocks him, looks under the blanket again, and then for a third time he does it. And then when he goes to explain, he's like, "Yeah, we made up this bullshit story.
Oh, right,
that
about
the
the
Gemini
fingers.
Killer took the middle finger from this, but it wasn't. It was the index finger from this, and all three of those bodies." And that was a great tie-in, I think, to that this mystery that's unraveling right now.
Right, that he knows of. That's
exactly
for him.
Only the
essentially.
police knew that. Yeah.
Right,
And it was for him exactly.
And some of that stuff, is what kind of sticks in your mind of oh, this is kind of a detective story.
Sure.
Right. More so than the horrifying stuff. Because then, certain parts are pretty violent and pretty horrific, and then certain parts like the one you're describing, that they're still pretty modest. We see a little bit of the finger, we see the sort of blood painting on the wall, but we don't see the real sort of horror stuff until we see the priest sort of peeling off the
Although
ceiling
the blood from the statues is pretty horrific, or at least supernatural, right? And I always
it's
question
creepy,
watching this that I'm like, is that really happening, or is that just for the effect of the screen and things like that? But I think some of it was happening, right? One of the priests picks up, or when the Exorcist picks up the small statue of Christ, and he actually wipes the blood off of it, right? So it was happening. So this one definitely pushed more of the supernatural than the original Exorcist did, and I think you said that before, that Friedkin was a little bit more grounded in things, right? Wanted to do more of a dark documentary almost style of horror.
No, and again, worked brilliantly for that.
Oh yeah, it's one of the best. That movie is so ridiculously good. It kind of makes me want to put that one on next list.
Right, hard to top for genuinely terrifying moments, but of course, as we mentioned, spoiler alert, the jump scare in part 3 is especially watching it with a crowd. It's still one of the best gotcha moments, I think, in cinema.
It still scared me watching it this time. You know which one scared me as well is when our friend Vivica Lindfors from Creepshow, when she shows up to the house and she's sitting there, and they do this crash zoom on her, and she just kind of looks at the camera. It was a really good little close-up zoom on her. It scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, it was really bothering me. Like what the hell is she from? And I guess
She's
was
Aunt Bedelia.
What thinking of?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. It was.
I want my cake, Bedelia.
I got my cake. It's mine.
You bitch! You called me a bitch.
It's Father's Day.
Anything we want to throw in there for Exorcist 3? Anything more?
Just how much I loved seeing Marty McFly's grandpa as one of the like detectives, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy from Die Hard who was Special Agent Johnson, no relation.
Right.
I love that guy in Back to the Future, man.
The kid's an idiot.
Who the hell is John F. Kennedy?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the cast of this movie is great. I think it really delivers on the mood. I love the Nancy Fish character, the nurse. I think she's like such a, I don't know. You don't know if she's bad. You don't know if she's good. She plays a great role, like in the middle. I think that everyone kind of delivers in this movie, and I think the mood and the creep factor really show through. Even now, I watched it during the day, and it was great. You know, it still kind of scared me, and I was still really engaged with it. It just pulls you right through. I loved it. Yeah, I really like this one, especially as a sequel.
Yeah. Again, perfect sequel.
Yeah.
Tonally similar, but different enough to stand on its own.
And I think we've kind of realized that when we were talking about sequels that are better than the original, or at least hold up to the original, or that they do make a little shift in the genre. They take it in a different direction, maybe hit similar beats, but
enough to pull it away from being a carbon copy remake, and enough of what you liked about the original to give it its own special flavor in that continuation, that franchise.
And then we've got Halloween 2018. I've been excited to talk about this one. I think I brought this one up a while ago with Jeremy, and I've been wanting to know his opinion on this movie.
Yeah, so this is the very first Halloween sequel I've ever seen.
Oh, you've never seen any of the Halloween sequels?
I saw like half of Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Okay.
I was
only half?
aware of the dimension. I just, something happened and I never went back to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just like, I had to go.
Block.
Yeah, I know. It's like, we'll do Exorcist 2, we'll do Halloween 3, like movies that don't belong in the franchise.
Tom Atkins block, maybe?
I was going to say, it should go in a Tom Atkins
oh, yeah.
podcast.
Tom Atkins
Night
block?
of the Creeps.
Horror
Night of the Creeps.
anthology. Yeah, Night of the Creeps. And he was another one from Ninth Configuration. Anyway.
Yeah, so I didn't see any of the Rob Zombie remakes. I didn't see Halloween 2. I didn't see any of the sort of Dimension ones with
Water.
With LL Cool J. Yeah,
Halloween
Water.
Okay. Now, Halloween Water is an interesting movie because it's the Halloween 2018 is a remake of Halloween Water.
Is it really?
I would say that it is. Halloween H20 was trying to do the same thing that Halloween 2018 was doing.
It's a reboot of Halloween H2O. It's so bizarre.
Because H2O was supposed to try and get rid of everything in between.
But it didn't. It didn't get rid of 2. Because 2 is when they introduced the idea that Laurie was his sister somehow. And then they used that again in H2O. But in 2018, they mentioned that in their walk. They're like, no, somebody made that up. She's not their sister.
Okay, yeah.
That was a retcon line right there. They literally wrote it out. We're removing everything, guys.
Nope.
This movie does not.
Hey, do you guys remember all the franchise? No, we put white out through all that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he's like, can I blow up this pumpkin?
Yeah.
So what do you think, Jeremy? 2018 Halloween 2, we'll call it.
Yeah, so I think, just like we were talking about a minute ago with, sequels having to switch genres, this one definitely did that. Like, it basically at no point felt like a horror movie to me, and it was essentially what Terminator 2 is to Terminator 1, which is like Terminator 1 is just a slasher movie. Terminator 1 is Halloween with a robot. And then Terminator 2 is an action movie where the sort of, final girl and the victim, becomes the sort of like tank top, wearing shotgun wielding.
Sarah Connor.
No fucks given. Preparing for the end of the world. Sarah Connor type.
Yeah, no, totally. Well, that was the obsession that they set up, right? That she was consistently preparing for this day, and she knew this day was coming.
And there was no other attacks because he got arrested right after that.
Right, exactly. Right? So, like, the legend of Michael Myers doesn't exist anymore. It was just some guy who attacked them when they were kids. And it's like...
Say goodbye to Michael and get over it.
Goodbye.
Well, I mean, okay, it's a traumatic event, and like the it was the defining moment of her life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I get it. I get it as like the reversal of the Michael Myers, where Michael is preparing for Halloween night his whole life.
Right.
Looking forward to this night. But again, I just like the whole thing felt like a Funny or Die skit or something that was just trying to take itself more seriously.
Well, the third act was definitely Home Alone, but instead of on Christmas, on Halloween.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I will defend this house. And then she they get back to the house. Laurie has got her daughter and her granddaughter in there. And then everyone's down in the sort of like safe room. She goes upstairs to confront him or whatever, and then she like sticks her ear by the door so that he can grab her through like the window.
Right. It's like she does all these horror cliches, like waiting for, and it's just like, what are you doing, movie? Like, come on.
She got stage fright, I guess, and blew it in the last second on her master plan to.
Oh, I think she did
get
fine.
revenge.
Now. She came through. It worked out all right.
She totally blew him up, so let's write that sequel. It's just like
there's 2 more coming.
Hey,
Halloween Lives, I think, or something, or Halloween
something
Kills.
like that.
Halloween
Kills and something. The Search for More
Halloween
Money.
Dies.
Yeah.
The Search for More Money.
What was that from?
That's Spaceballs 2.
Oh yeah.
God willing, we'll all be back in Spaceballs 2. The Search for More Money.
So outside of the insane storyline, the 40 years preparation. Now, as a movie, what do you think of this as structurally, how it works as a sequel in terms of storylines, things like that?
Like, I didn't think it was bad in that regard. I thought, I like the idea of just saying fuck it and rebooting something completely and like just doing your own divergent universe kind of thing, which is fine. But I mean, just because the original continuity is just such a jumbled up, horrible mess, like it sort of called for it. It was totally warranted. But I just felt like it just diverged too much from the tone of the original. Michael didn't feel scary to me at all. Like every kill in the movie felt very bland.
Wow, really? I thought they were creative. I thought overall I loved the long one takes that they did with Michael. I thought that those were really creative. I thought that the scene at the gas station was terrifying. The 2 podcasters that get mauled in the bathroom are just, that fella gets trashed.
Listen, I felt attacked on that one.
There's also, yeah, exactly. There's the Grindhouse Institute here who wants to talk to Michael Myers as we get our asses beat in a bathroom. But there is a really good throwback to the first movie. He gets his uniform or his outfit from a gas station in the original movie. Loomis finds the station wagon there. And in this one, he kind of does the same thing. So he's kind of going through
doing very well last night.
Yeah, exactly. And you actually see him in the background taking out one of the people, and then you see the aftermath of it with the guy's jaw basically all opened up. So I really thought that there was some good stuff going on in terms of the horror. And I thought that was very creative.
I think the reason that you weren't like impressed with the horror is because the movie kind of moved out of the horror genre. And it's like, because of things like the one you're talking about, Brian, where, we watch him, we're sort of following behind Michael, as he's kind of attacking the neighborhood. And because, of things like the bathroom scene where we're seeing a lot of Michael, in the first one, it was a horror movie because we'd be following Laurie or the other babysitters or whomever, and then Michael would appear and it'd be scary. In this one, we're following Michael around because Michael's the Terminator in this one. It's
right.
Like, he
right.
It's no longer about, is this going to scare me? It's about like, showing the I don't know, the mechanics of how he just goes around killing.
Or how brutal he could be.
Yeah,
right?
that too.
Just go for it.
Right.
And he's like, he is robotic, right? He feels like a robot in this one. Very much
No, yeah,
so.
the Terminator is like a perfect analogy for him, because I mean, but that to me is like what ruined him, because I mean he's supposed to be this kind of nebulous, omnipresent shape that's just everywhere. He's that floating camera in the first one that's always kind of looming with the music. Just ominously creeping up on everybody, and I guess kind of a perfect example of who he was in the original is when Laurie's like standing by the closet and he's just barely visible, and he just subtly comes into the moonlight or whatever. That I mean that's like the perfect representation of what I think of when I think of Michael Myers, and I felt like this movie tried to make him into Jason or something. And just have him be this,
Right.
non-stop killing machine for no reason. I mean, like, 'cause he was basically just killing whoever got in his way in the original, and his sole focus was on killing his sister over and over again. And again, not that has to necessarily be the most important part, but I just felt like they kind of. They just kind of dropped everything from what made the original Halloween great to me, and just sort of made their own thing and just went, yeah, whatever,
Yeah, but I mean, that's basically how you have to do sequels to classic movies, right? It's like you have to kind of change the genre. I mean, I think that's also the reason I was like resisting watching any sequels to Halloween, because I was like, okay, well, Halloween fucking nailed it. It's perfect. Like, I don't want a sequel. Like, I've got it all here. And the only thing you can do in a sequel is ruin it. Now, in this one, like, yeah, they kind of like moved away from the horror part of it. I mean, like, and it sounds like that's what you're kind of reacting to, Michael, is like not wanting to like be out of the horror genre for this. I mean, there are sort of horrific elements in it, but it was definitely a lot more geared toward the sort of like action thriller type of thing, especially when you talk about the third act.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I guess. Yeah, I don't know, because I guess because because I'm such a Carpenter fanatic and have such love for the original, and I've never really liked any of the Halloween sequels. I think I've seen most of them. I think I've seen all of them except for 4.
That's the key one.
Yeah.
That's Danielle Harris's introduction.
Oh right, yeah, and I think maybe that was part of it, was that if they were going to ignore all those other sequels, they better have something that was pretty damn good, to warrant that.
Well, I thought that it was a complete story. I think that it all came together nicely. I think that they had enough of the old movie in there while also changing it to the action thriller that, they've got sound cues. They had a bunch of shots that were matched, especially the one when Laurie disappears after falling off the roof, just like in the first one. Michael disappears, but
or
Michael's
appears outside of her granddaughter's classroom.
Yeah, exactly. She was Michael in this one, right? Like they completely switched roles. And I thought that as, that considering they were telling her story as the Sarah Connor type, I thought that worked. And she was the hunter in this one. Even though you're right, she did some cliche things at the end, but you can't have any type of movie like this without some sort of hair pulling, some sort of hand coming through and grabbing,
No,
There's
yeah,
be
and
those,
again, it's like, I mean, I feel like it just kind of transposed everything and made it into a Terminator with horror cliches, kind of superimposed here and there. Like, I think just my general gut reaction was just, this is complete and total weak sauce. It does not deserve the title that it's the prestigious title that it's giving itself. Like, it's just stealing the title Halloween and just calling itself Halloween. Fuck it, whatever.
Well, I have to say, in this movie, I really like the sort of like how it seemed as if Will Patton was going to be like kind of a big character, and then we get the sort of like second Dr. Loomis to kind of make a pincushion out of him, and the evil Loomis was pretty cool because he 2 was kind of like the doctor in Terminator 2, where it's like,
right.
Dr. Silverman?
Yeah, he's very cynical and wanting to sort of, pull the wings off of Sarah Connor, or in this case, I don't know, Laurie and everyone else. Like, ooh, I just want to see what happens when he gets free. And like,
Right.
How many can he kill?
And he wanted to put on the mask, too. He wanted to know how that felt, putting the mask on.
Right.
And
What did he say? What did he say?
But he gets his head smashed in such gloriousness. Like, it's just great. One boot to the face, and he is just nothing but a grease pit on the ground. It's great.
Yeah, that was gross. I guess there were a couple, neat kills, as you like to say, Brian. Like in this one, like where the guy's jaw is all crazy. But
I like when he dropped the teeth to threaten her with a bunch of the guy's teeth.
That was probably my favorite part of the movie.
That was pretty scary. Yeah.
That was the most Michael Myers-ish part to me.
But like, okay, that scene in particular, if they wanted it to be a horror scene, like what they should have done was like, she grabs the stall, here's somebody come in, they do a couple doors, and then she's like, occupied. And instead of cutting away to go see the British guy finding, all the corpses around, like have him drop the teeth and then we cut out of it. You know what I mean? Because then it's like, it's scary, as opposed to like, he kind of jiggles the door.
Interesting.
We cut away, we come back, he jiggles the door again.
Yeah. Because again, that was another thing that I felt like the editing was also very much not a horror movie.
Interesting.
That type of pacing and that type of cutting definitely felt like it was trying to do something entirely different. And I think that was another thing that really bothered me, because it felt like it like some very minor things could have been done differently, and it would have been totally different, And that I don't know. I think I just disagreed with the whole philosophy that they took on their approach to it being this totally different sequel kind of idea. I don't know,
like in a different genre, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough because like this movie or this franchise, whatever, like this character belongs in the horror genre, and it is tough trying to like push it into something else.
Well, and like you said, it's I mean, probably just philosophically or whatever, it doesn't warrant a sequel. It's a perfectly self-contained movie that there's no there's never a reason for it. And Carpenter felt the same way, which is why he made up all the bullshit about Laurie's being his sister and everything. And he openly said it. He was like, "Yeah, I just did it for the money. I wanted to go make Escape from New York. I didn't want to do this anymore." Because they offered him an insane amount of money to make it,
but there was another plan for Halloween, right? That it was going to be a bunch of different genres. He was going to, this was going to be the slasher movie. There was going to be the Halloween 3, where there's going to be about masks. There's going to be a bunch of different ones, and he wanted to go in different directions with how Halloween movies were. But they just wanted more Michael Myers, or the studio did when I say they.
Yeah, that sounds right. That's right.
So they kind of took away his original vision for this thing, which was going to be a new type of horror every Halloween,
just every
or
Halloween
set around
night
Halloween, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Which then he tried to do in Body Bags. He had a little bit of the anthology stuff going on, but maybe not as successful as you'd think. But I still love.
Well,
the shit out of that
I
movie.
think that original idea of making a different anthology story based around Halloween, which they did more in Trick or Treat, which is kind of following different mythologies within Halloween, based and centered around Halloween.
Yeah.
Around the holiday itself, that was a great idea.
When we do Anthology 201 coming up at Halloween, we'll have to watch Trick or Treat. That's a great one.
Yeah. Because that to me felt like, and I mean, even Sam in that movie is like a perfect embodiment of what Michael Myers, I think, was trying to be, or what John Carpenter tried to make Michael Myers in the original Halloween.
So let's move on to Terminator Dark Fate from 2019, or as we might know it in this episode, Terminator 3. Right?
Yeah. Well, right.
Terminator. It'd be Terminator 4, because it's Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines.
No, Terminator 3 does not happen according to Dark Fate.
Oh, sorry. So I thought you were talking about the last one that was numbered. Anyway.
No. So this is technically Terminator 3 in our retconned discussion.
Right.
So they're sort of wiping out Salvation, Machines, Genesis.
May I just get this off my chest? My favorite part of the movie was the very beginning when we see Terminator 2 Sarah Connor and her performance.
Yes.
And I was like,
right.
damn, that movie is awesome. And then this movie started.
No, that violates the like Mystery Science Theater rule of never put a better movie in your movie.
Especially first, right? Like,
Yes.
now you got to live up to that.
Oh,
the first
man.
5 minutes. Oh, man.
Yeah, you're right. Like the first, just the deep fake, whatever versions of Everett Furlong and Linda Hamilton were amazing, and I was really
Arnold.
like, and Arnold, yeah, and I was really vibing with that. I was like, oh man, this is fucking awesome. Oh, okay,
But we get that for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And, there was a lot of talk leading up to reading about this movie that they're like, Edward Furlong is cast in this movie. I'm like, great. I'd love to see how fucked up his life got over time, and he could get back into this movie and actually be part of it. And he wasn't. He wasn't at all part of this movie, and I thought that he could...
Listen, just wait for the next sequel, okay? This was a bomb as well.
They're gonna they redid Genesis again, right?
No,
like,
I know.
This is like another
it's so
reboot.
Stupid. I mean, again, no. I mean, to me, it's a perfect analogy with Halloween. It's like, oh well, we didn't like what Rob Zombie did with it. We're gonna do our version. It's gonna be so much better. And it's like, no. Again, philosophically, you're just totally off base with what you're trying to do.
I think this one just tried to throw a character that everyone loved from T2, tried to make her the lead in this again, and I thought
Right.
that was fine, but it just did not land, and the story took such a strange turn, and I'm still kind of confused as to what was going on, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
I had a hard time with
Like-
this one.
Yeah.
You know what was frustrating about this one is like it had that same problem that Alien Cubed had, where it's like, hey, you remember all that cool stuff that happened in Alien 2? Well, all of that doesn't matter because they all just like died immediately, and like then we're gonna shave Sigourney Weaver's head, and it's gonna be
Alien
on a prison boat or whatever, and it's like oh, and it turns out Ash is just some guy, and it's like, or no, not Ash, what was it?
Bishop.
It wasn't Ash, it was
Bishop,
the second.
Bishop.
Bishop.
Bishop. Yeah. So anyway, this one kind of did that by hey, remember Terminator 2? How great that ended? Yeah, that's cool. Oh, forget it.
Yeah.
We'll just blow everyone away. But then once you're past that, like, okay, the movie doesn't really start until we get to sort of the
Jeremy, does the movie ever really start?
I'm still waiting for the movie to
Does it
start.
ever
Jeremy.
really get going?
It's still on.
No. So someone wrote the screenplay. The studio looked at it and were like, okay, this needs to be more like Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Can we put more of that in there.
Make it more better,
But so
please.
how do you make it more Terminator 2 according to what we got from the finished product is you have another liquid metal type Terminator,
Yeah,
but who's now
right.
the Rev 9 or whatever they called him. But now he can just make 2 of himself? Was that the new update? Was that
Yeah,
now
yeah.
he
He could
of them?
separate. One was the T800, and then one was the liquid metal.
So the liquid metal comes off of the skeleton.
Are you really explaining this, or are you busting my balls right now?
No,
No, that's real. It was that he could separate.
And it didn't have a core anymore. Basically, it was just like a big flesh. band out
It
there.
was the core.
Yeah,
The core was the machine, the robot Terminator, and then his separate thing was the liquid metal skin, basically.
Most of the time it was combined, and then sometimes you could separate them. Yeah,
Which
exactly.
again was stupid because you didn't.
It made him weaker.
God, it
I'm like,
didn't-
this
I know,
isn't
it
this
didn't
isn't an
make any
update.
sense.
This is when you get like an update on your phone that isn't helpful. This is what you got.
Break
Like
something else. Yeah, exactly.
this is a new
Right.
audible alert.
We heard you
I don't
complain.
need this shit.
This is what you get when you complain. More shit. Like, thank you. Oh, that's great. I can't use this app at all.
I just thought that they did themselves a major disservice by calling right back to literally the best action movie or action sequel ever made, with both Edward Furlong and Linda Hamilton's original cool characters, and then change everything around. Like that was literally the end of that story or end of that connection. There was
Right.
nothing else.
Well, and it also they took all the like parts that you loved about the Terminator franchise and like just sort of did it again, but worse. And it was like,
Right.
Come with me or you're dead in the next 30 seconds. And so,
Just say the right line. Just say the line.
Come with me if you want to live.
Come with me if you want to live.
Come with me or you're dead in the next 30 seconds.
Just give me the line. I was so disappointed in that. I'm like, okay, good. At least there was like a direct callback.
No, I know. Even when someone makes a reference to another movie. It's like, just say the line. The line is what everyone knows. We don't try to hide it. Don't tell me you're canceling the Armageddon or the apocalypse or whatever. Yeah, I know you're doing today's our Independence Day speech. It's just like, just do the speech, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't like mimic it and change some words. Don't pull that shit. It's like,
right.
I feel like there needs to be a teacher on set going, no. It's like, you're just copying someone else's work. You can't do that.
Or how about this one? You ready? Instead of no fate, it's fuck fate.
Yes. fuck the rules. Fate sucks or something. Just like do a full Teenage Caveman.
Okay.
Who gives a shit?
But anyway, so this one, you kind of had to get over the beginning, the opening deepfake scene, and then the movie does start. Ready? When they're like first seeing the semi Terminator come back, like Kyle Reese, but with some enhancements. I guess like the tricky part with this one is like that because they were just like doing such crazy stuff all the time with the double T1000 or whatever, the Rev 9 thing, and because they were just like trying to make everything so complicated about like, well, no, it's not Skynet, it's a new thing called Legion. It's actually Exorcist III is what we're dealing with here.
Isn't it wild though that Halloween was like Terminator 2?
Yes.
This thing was called Legion, and we put these movies together with Exorcist 3. What the fuck?
Ryan, we did that on purpose. Okay?
No, totally. Isn't it cool that we planned this the whole time, guys?
Absolutely. Far more sophisticated than we let on.
But yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, because they literally just tried to retell the Skynet story with a different name. There was nothing different about what they were doing, other than for some reason we were, as humans, were able to come up with some sort of cybernetic enhancements and send back an actual Kyle Reese that could stand up to a Terminator.
Right.
That was the difference, right?
Right. And like, I guess aside from all of that, like having to explain too much and, like sort of like ruining the franchise with the deepfake scene and all this stuff. Like, I mean, there was something where it was like, I was kind of like interested in certain parts where it was like, none of this really paid off in a way that was like really satisfying, but it was really interesting. Like when Linda Hamilton was like, yeah, I saved 3 billion lives. And they're like, yeah, what are you talking about? You didn't do shit. And it's like, it is interesting because, that was the thing that never happened. And yes, she did prevent that in this version of the movie. But, I guess we came up with a whole other thing.
These humans can't stay away from artificial intelligence for long enough here.
And Legion was just all like lowercase, right? It was like it was an app that we all downloaded at one point.
I think it was 13G1004.
Yeah, it was in leet speak.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, this was a movie directed by, a special effects guy, a visual effects guy. He's the one that directed Deadpool.
Right.
And he owned Blur Studios. I think Tim Miller.
Tim Miller, yeah.
So he's very effects heavy. And I would say, the effects were pretty good, although I still loved the original Terminator. If you're going to do the Kyle Reese story against the Terminator, Kyle Reese was so underpowered against Arnold in the very first movie, and that's what made it so much more of a conflict. She could
and it
jump
made it scary,
and fucking,
they had to run away.
Made it scary. She could jump on trucks and flip trucks over and pick up the Terminator herself and throw it.
He had to steal a shotgun, wear hobo pants, and make a bomb out of like household chemicals.
Pipes. Yeah, he just was making pipe bombs out of chemical. He's like, what's for dinner? Plastique.
Right.
Sounds good.
It's almost as if you're describing a better movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I would have loved that. And if they wanted to reboot this, I think they should have sent back that soldier from the future in the same capacity as Kyle Reese.
Careful now, Harlan Ellison's ghost might come back and demand some money there.
But naked with no guns against the Terminator, you are far outnumbered or far outgunned, and that makes it a more terrifying story, in my opinion. I think that she was just too, built up.
No, and again, this it totally lends itself more to it being low tech.
Yes,
because I mean, it's great seeing the flashbacks in Terminator 1 with all the robots and the horrible dystopia. But again, that's not the story. That's just that's some eye candy for the flashback. And the story, the most you get up to the very end is him plucking his eyeball out in the sink, and finally seeing the red eye underneath it, which is horrifying.
Fuck you,
unto
asshole.
itself. Exactly. Having that little un chan andalou moment, but
oh God, yeah.
and there's also there's another art house reference with Jonas Mekas where he keeps cutting to the foot stepping on stuff. Anyway, something I noticed in my hoity-toity pretentious film class I took in college. But there's a lot of stuff in the original Terminator that like you said is a horror movie, and in this movie it's a pure action movie, kind of devoid of all character. You're just kind of just watching people run and blow stuff up, and there's.
I had a hard time
there's
remembering.
no grounded reality to anything.
I had a hard time remembering who they were trying to save.
Right.
I wasn't really like taken aback by like her performance. I didn't think that they, set her up for. I forget her name. I apologize. But
Grace.
Or
no, sorry, that Danny.
That was the robot. Yeah, Danny.
Yeah.
So I thought that they, how they set up. And again, I'll reference the first Terminator, the better movie, right? They set up this person, John Connor, that you never even see in that movie. That is the leader of the resistance against the machines, and you never even see that guy, and they build him up. Now we've got Danny on screen, and they really didn't do much with her to build her up. She had some tough moments, but she could have done so much more, right? They could have done so much more with her to make her a real soldier.
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, this version of Terminator felt entirely like, how much like Marvel can we make this? And
it did feel like that.
That's kind of the model that they used was.
So, I mean, were they, based on the ending, I'm assuming they expected to have Hamilton go on to be, this buddy cop kind of Terminator hunting movie then with Danny? Because that's how it ends, right? They're kind of on the hunt and moving.
Oh, right. And it was Danny and Sarah, teaming up at the end. But it's funny because, like, the way that Linda Hamilton or Sarah explained that she was there to stop all these things is because she was getting... future texts from Arnold, who no longer is going to be in there. So it's like, well,
right.
They're going to team up to, well, not too much, I guess. Like
Arnold was handling all the logistics, man. He was letting her know exactly where things were going to pop and where that, sphere of time displacement or whatever the hell that thing is pops up. And then she'd go and blow away the Terminator. Now he's gone. Now how does that continue?
Yeah,
do they guess?
It's tough. All Terminator sequels are in a place where it's Terminator 2 like shouldn't have worked by all of our accounts of how how tough it is to do sequels.
Right.
They did it. They did the impossible, and there's sort of nowhere else to go with that. I mean, potentially there could have been a way to do it. Out of Terminator 1, I would have said the same thing probably. Going into Terminator 2, and Terminator 2, they managed to pull it off. Perhaps there is a way to do it, and you got to change genres again. The comedy genre is one that they haven't explored yet for this one, so maybe that's the way to go.
That'd be awesome.
The reboot.
The Terminator as a stand-up or something?
Yeah.
Go literally into comedy?
Yeah, to show how hard it. Yeah, remember in this one he's like, and I'm extremely funny.
That feels like a retrospective critic joke there. Now here's Arnold again for Terminator 7.
Our relationship is not physical. I'm reliable, I'm a very good listener, and I'm extremely funny.
Honestly, I think that of the plot points of this movie, I enjoyed that one the most, of Arnold as, well, another T-800, right? He wasn't the one from the original Terminator movies. He was another one that was sent back to Costa Rica or wherever Sarah and John were, and he's the one that actually ends up killing John, yet they have to work with him later on. I thought that was interesting, and I thought that I just love Arnold. Put him on screen, he could make fart noises the whole time, and I'd be pretty happy with his performance. So, I mean, that part I liked.
It's funny, like those little bits of the story, kind of got me into it in a way. I mean, despite the fact that I don't like how it, messes with the chronology of the other ones, but just as a standalone thing, I did end up kind of liking some of that stuff. I mean, some of a couple of the set pieces were like worth watching, but yeah, you're right. Like there is something where it's like it's so much more interesting when the Terminators can't just do anything. Think about how the Terminators in the future in this one were like, had like tentacles or something that were going out and stabbing people.
Yeah.
And like, it just started to get to a place where it was like, well, there's just sort of nowhere to go.
How can you beat something like that?
Yeah. They're painting themselves in the corner in that way.
Right.
Well, and I think that's again that's the problem, is that it's tackling something that shouldn't be tackled. It's and it's like maybe if it were a lesser film and no one really cared about it, you could just do a sequel and kind of kill everybody off and do whatever. Like Maniac Cop 2 is a good example.
Maniac Cop 2 is an excellent sequel. It's
a pretty good sequel, and they have a thing with spoiler alert, they kill Bruce Campbell in the very first part of it. That's a rare time when you can do that fake out, and it doesn't like ruin anything great, I mean, not to put down Maniac Cop. It's just you don't have the kind of emotional investment in Bruce Campbell's character that you would Edward Furlong from T2 and all this other stuff. So, and again, it's like trying to pull that off, because again, you're still emotionally upset by that, like the whole time. Like the whole time you're watching Alien 3, you're just like, well, what the fuck, It's just like every scene is just like. What, you didn't have to totally fuck aliens, completely. Yeah. It's just like
it's gone in Alien 3.
No, it's like watching a serial and having someone go over the cliff and oh no, that they're actually not dead. They jumped down at the last second. It's just like there's this emotional betrayal that when you see it as if everything else just kind of goes out the window in your mind and you don't really buy it anymore.
No, you're right. I mean, you're seeing a lot more of the seams and all of the marketing discussions to try and jam these things together.
These were business decisions, not creative decisions.
Not creative decisions, exactly.
And I think as soon as you see that, then your interest in at least my interest in the movie is gone immediately. Sure. And the movie has to work really hard to win me back. And if it doesn't, then I'm just watching special effects masturbation. And you're just like, great.
But we still have Exorcist 3 out of this list, guys, so we still have a winner, so we can't go out on a purely negative note. But I do want to say that this ended up being a much closer connected block than I had imagined originally. I could not believe it.
What else can we call Skynet?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they were just making a reference to the Bible, but, it definitely did tie into Exorcist.
I think they were in Exorcist as well, so
there you go.
There you go.
So to recap our show today, we watched Exorcist III from 1990, Halloween from 2018, and Terminator Dark Fate from 2019. Are we going to get another Terminator, you think?
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I mean, it's real tough. I mean, it's a perfect franchise, which I'm always shocked they never explored more stories in, because it's a time travel.
Yeah.
You can do whatever the hell you want, Yeah. And the fact, I mean, obviously Arnold's the icon, but is now very much older. And as hard as they tried to not make him seem old in this, he is very old. Although, like you said, that doesn't diminish the fun factor of seeing Arnold again.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I would not be against them doing another Terminator, just not with those characters, for the love of God.
So Terminator the comedy.
Sure.
Why Everyone's
not?
on board with that, right?
Yes.
Why not?
Jerry Seinfeld can play the T-800.
We're gonna hold it. We're gonna have it in space. We're gonna have him fight Jason X.
Terminator versus
Solid.
Jason versus Freddy.
Yeah. Oh, meets Abbott and Costello.
Meets Leatherface. Yeah.
Meets
Abbott and Costello.
Abbott and Costello. Ash from Evil Dead.
Michael, thank you so much for joining us yet again for another amazing block.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Definitely.
Happy Halloween, Michael.
All right, next week we will be talking about Hitchcock films on a train. Hitchcock on a train. It sounds funny. Yeah. The movies we're going to be watching are The 39 Steps from 1935, The Lady Vanishes from 1938, and Strangers on a Train from 1951. Going to the classics in this block.
Yeah, we're getting some of Hitchcock's British period. I think we're getting the end of his British period right there. But I'm pretty excited about this block. Hitchcock had a bunch of movies set on trains and memorably in North by Northwest. But also in these three. And, I'm excited about it because we get to watch Lady Vanishes, and any excuse to watch that is a great
This
one.
is one of your faves, or what's going
It
on?
is. It might be my favorite Hitchcock movie.
Okay, that's
which
great.
is saying a lot.
Oh, you're setting this up. You're setting this up, man.
Yeah, not to build this one up too much, but but it might be my favorite, yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. Please make sure to subscribe and follow us on all the podcasts and social platforms at the Grindhouse Institute. And if you really want to give us a boost, check us out on Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It helps us to get noticed. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll be back next week.
Ciao.
Would a God who is good invent something like death?
Bill, it all works out right. We're gonna live forever, Bill. We're spirits.
Oh, I would love to believe that.